All right, and now I'm really excited to introduce you to Terry Goldfarb. Terry and I go way back, and I will tell you that Terry was the inspiration to me for our boot camp. And I worked with Terry many, many years ago, and I saw what she did with executives in transition, and I was in awe. And she shared with me why she did it, why it was important. And she had such a fan club. And in Southern California, I would say she is the most well-connected individual you will ever know. And so after, I started my company and the economy fell apart, I knew because of Terry's nurturing and guidance, I knew that helping people was the secret to, getting business in the door and just nurturing great relationships. And then when somebody had said, gosh, Christy, you're so well connected, and people were referring to me as, a well-connected person, I was so proud because I thought, oh my gosh, if I could even come close to being compared with Terry, that would be a dream. And so I still aspire to be like Terry, and she's, I call her my little angel, but she is truly the inspiration for starting boot camp. And so she has just an amazing background. She has been in marketing and then done business development. And now what she does is continue to help people focus on networking, connections, and she has a really great approach. And she's been quoted in a couple of books, and she is just still called upon by so many groups to share her words of wisdom. And so now, Terry, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you get to share with an expanded group. We go across the country, and you can share your pearls of wisdom with even more people. Uh-oh.
There. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So thank you. Wow, you made my day, Christy. I feel like I can close up and go home now. Thank you for your kind words, really. And you are also, so well known and obviously far-reaching. So congratulations on what you've done, and all of your team as well. So hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen in a moment, and I'm packing a lot into this time period, so I'm going to be talking kind of fast, but I just find that this is a great time to be networking, and I'm hoping I can share some things with you that will, let's see. There we go. I don't know how to make that side thing go away, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Put the presentation mode in the lower corner where it says like a screen on a stand.
Always go through this.
At the bottom of the screen to, I think it's to your right.
Or you can go into reading mode, one next to it.
There you go, that one.
Yeah. There we go. Okay.
Here.
So thank you, everybody. I'll try to remember that next time. Anyway, so basically our goals today are to discover a simple way to look at networking differently, because I find that a lot of people recoil at the word networking. They feel like it's kind of salesy, and they're really uncomfortable with the concept. So we're going to change everybody's mind. We're going to uncover skills that you need to be a good networker. We're going to learn how to avoid feeling awkward when you call people out of the blue, because that's always the biggest fear that people have. Like, they're going to think I want something. Well, the clue is don't want something. And then find out how reaching out to your network can be fun and easy, because a lot of people look at it as like, oh, big dread. So hopefully we'll change your mind on a bunch of things. So we're going to redefine networking. And I want to start this out by saying, I came to this material by looking at my own career. And the fact is, I've never had to look for a job in my life. Always happened as a result of somebody I know tapping me on the shoulder, sending me to go see somebody, telling me about an opportunity, hiring me themselves. And when I looked back after a certain point and said, how did this happen? I realized that it was as a result of a family member, a neighbor, a colleague that I worked with, somebody I sat on a committee with, somebody I went to college with, and every job can be tracked to that without me ever once having to look for a job. So I want to share with you, in looking back at my career, how did that happen? And I'll be sharing with you the things that I did that have made my life just huge cause for celebration. It's just been, I've been so fortunate. And I would love to have everybody have that same good luck. So I want you all to get rid of the word networking, because that kind of makes people tense, and replace it with reconnecting. The fact is, you don't even need to meet one new person. You have enough people in your network and in your realm of contacts that if you just reconnected with the people you already know from yesterday, weeks ago, years ago, you'll find that if you activate those connections, you'll be busier than a one-armed paper hanger, and you'll have people tapping you on the shoulder and staying connected with you, and you stay connected with them, and you're helping them, and you'll just find it enriching beyond belief. So again, you don't need to meet one more person. During COVID, I had so many people calling me saying, I'm looking for a job, but I can't because there's nowhere to go network. And I'm going, sorry, phone, text, email, Zoom. I mean, there's plenty of ways to keep in touch. And I was as busy, if not busier than ever during Zoom, connecting with people I hadn't talked to in years and years. And it was most fun. And the interesting thing about COVID was people were afraid to reach out because they feel like they're bothering people. Well, the fact is, everybody was scared, lonely, sad, depressed, worried. And it was a really tough time for everybody. They're having to navigate new ways of communication. They're having to school their kids at home. They had to rearrange the whole house to find a place to, have their corner of the house. It was very challenging. And to get a call from someone that says, Terry, this is Christy. I just haven't talked to you so long, and I was just thinking about you. How are you doing? Those are gold. Absolute gold. So when you're reaching out to people, and especially during tough times or holidays, those are gifts you're giving to people. So I want you to, get familiar with that reconnecting context. So why should you connect with old friends, neighbors, family, colleagues, and others? So the fact is, you have a history with them. You've got commonality, which gives you a bond. Whenever there's a bond and shared experiences, that makes you, when people see you or see your name pop up on a screen, they automatically smile. And unless you've been mean, but I know that's not the case here. So it elicits an automatic response when people see your name pop up anywhere. And that releases actually hormones that are very healthy for you. And so I told people during the COVID, and now of course with this time of year, to feel free to reach out as much as possible to people, because Simon Sinek, if you've never heard of him, has one of the most heard TED Talks on YouTube. And it's all about gratitude. And it's about the fact that when you call somebody, when you see somebody, when you give somebody something, it releases hormones in you, the giver, because you're doing something good and kind. And the receiver is releasing hormones because they're on the receiving end of that, and they're happy and joyful. And then when you see their response, once again, you're releasing those hormones. It's like a ping pong game. And Simon's talk is brilliant. And I encourage you all to hear it, because I think it will reinforce this process for you, and realize that you are actually helping people and bringing joy and help, friendship to people. So these are why you should be connecting with them. So I want to prove it to you. So if you've got a pencil and paper, I want to have you just write down real quick name a couple friends that you had in college. I don't care if you haven't talked to them in 30 years, just who were a couple people that you come to mind from your college days. In my mind, I can barely remember those days, but who was your favorite neighbor? It could be growing up, in school, now, doesn't matter, but do you have a favorite neighbor? Write that name down. And then who was your favorite boss or employer? I don't care if it was in high school or today, whenever. But everybody's got someone that they have a warm spot in their heart for. And then who was a role model for you? Was there anybody you kind of watched and analyzed and emulated or learned from just by watching them? Who helped you the most over your career? Did you have a mentor or a family member that, was a huge support for you? Best friend, whoever, write that name down. And then who are the folks that referred you to your various jobs? Go through your resume and say, how did I get that job, that job, that job, that job? Or if you got promotions, I mean, I was at my company 22 years and, you wind up moving up. So who was responsible for moving you up? Write those names here. This circle of people should be able to liven up your network and just say you were thinking of them. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to say you were doing an exercise in a video that made you think of them. You were just thinking of them. And they will be so excited to hear from you. And you guys catch up, and you don't have to always get together. Sometimes they're not close by. They might be cross country or wherever, but between Facebook, LinkedIn, and just Googling people, you can track down just about anybody. So I don't let distance or a long time stand in your way from trying to reach out to these people. And I'd love to hear from you down the road and see how this exercise turned out for you in a few weeks. So you can even share it with Christy's group, because it usually results in some pretty fun outcomes. So what does it take to be a good networker? I mean, I encourage people to print this out and put it alongside of your monitor, because it will help you raise your awareness when you're talking to people or reaching out to people, or just starting your day with these words in front of you. Being authentic. People, if you're reaching out and you really want something, people will detect that. But if you just reach out because you care and because you want to see if you can catch up with them or add value to them in some way, then will go a long way. And then caring, that's part of being authentic, because you want to know, how are they doing? How did they get through COVID? How are they doing now? Are the market's changing? People are having other challenges now that are totally different than they were a year ago. And you need to check in with people. Maybe there's some way you could be supportive of them without even knowing, until you talk to them and see, where are they now? Adding value, after you see where you can add value, it helps them now. This adding value is huge. I've got calls during COVID saying, I know you're alone. I'm going to the grocery store. Can I get you anything? That was wonderful. People just calling and just checking in and keeping in touch. Those are all things that are very, very thoughtful and appreciative by people. And then if they did something for you at some point in your career, life, whatever, you can bring it up, even if it was 20 years ago, and say, I want to, once again, comment on that time that you introduced me to that person, and the outcome was so positive. And I still want to tell you how much I appreciate you for that. I mean, you can tell somebody, I'm thank you 20, 30 years later for something they did for you, and it will not go unnoticed. being curious. When you're talking to people, ask them questions about themselves. Don't talk about yourself. How are the kids? What are you doing? How's the job? How's your career going? Where are you living now? Just get them talking. And the more they talk, the cooler they'll think you are. It's a funny phenomena, but not talking about yourself is really giving them the stage and letting them share and connect with you. In the process of being curious, actively listening is important, and that could be, tilting your head, nodding, doing some hand signs that show that you're actively listening, not looking around at everything around you, but having eye contact is important. Being interested, all of these things help show that you're interested, but really listen and being mindful of the conversation is so critical. And that way you can ask appropriate questions instead of just going, you can say, how was that? Or tell me more, and just continue to pull out information from the person. And then getting involved in your community, in your business, in your family, just doing things where you are actively being with other people is really important. And so whether that's with a nonprofit or a neighborhood program that maybe a softball league or something, anything that you can do to be active and involved with other people is really important part of your networking. Almost every job I got was a result of being on a committee with somebody as part of a nonprofit. You're working alongside of people. They're seeing what you're made of, how dedicated you are, what your interests are, how you get things done. You show a lot about yourself when you're working alongside of people in these kind of committees. And whether it's the next day, or in my case, even a year or two later, someone could call you and say, I was thinking about you, and I think this might be a good opportunity for you. And I had that happen twice, or actually 3 times. And in every case, I didn't even understand what the company and the business was. So I'm going, I don't think I'm a right fit. And they said, nope, you are. I know you can do this. And sure enough, I wound up at one job for 8 years and another one for 20. So that's because someone worked alongside of me on a committee. One of them was at a triathlon. Now tell me what that prepares you for, huh? So anyway, if you post these so that you see them every day, it will raise your mindfulness and awareness of these traits and help you with that process. Whoops. So the type of people when you're in transition that are really critical for you to network with are service providers, colleagues, and then people you have a common bond with. But I want to focus on service providers and vendors. And all of you in your jobs, or probably most of you, have hired people, or your company has hired people to do something for you. So it could be the copier salesman, it could be your insurance or your benefits people, it could be an accounting firm, it could be anything. But these people network among themselves to build their business. Service providers and vendors, their job is to continually grow their business, either through maintaining relationships or growing relationships. And they network a lot among themselves. They have their own little networking groups. They see each other on a regular basis. It could be every week, every month, every quarter. They're all different. And some of them belong to 2 or 3 different groups of people. And what they do in these meetings is they share what they're seeing in the marketplace, because it's for all of them, they need to constantly adjust their sales. So for me at my last job, if the market was getting soft like it is now, that was a really good flag for us to know that our clients or potential clients are going to be needing extra support. They may be doing layoffs, and then they wind up having to bring in people on an interim basis to help with, gap closing and stuff like that. Or people are leaving and they want to fill in those holes for not a time period or permanently. But so it's a flag for us. So in these meetings, what would happen is maybe Joe accountant says, we're seeing a real pickup in business, and I think that in the next couple of months, we're going to be just slammed. And that's like good news for everybody to hear, because everybody's not on the same trail at the same time. So other people may can adjust their sales, so to speak, and kind of adjust what they're doing in their marketplace to make sure they're ready for that. And so the service providers are always a step ahead of everybody else in terms of managing what's coming down in the business world. So what happens in these meetings also is everybody has had this happen. Somebody will say, my client, ABC company, needs a new head of HR because their person got transferred to Texas. So if any of you know anybody that's had big company HR experience, building teams, blah, 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 let me know. Or my client, Christy, is in transition and she's looking for a next opportunity. And this is what she, kind of her skill sets. And if anybody has a client that could use someone like that, let me know. This happens every day. You look across your landscape at all of these high rises and all of these office buildings, and this dialogue is happening in those buildings almost every day with this kind of group of people, whether it's over coffee or just sitting in their office or on a call. And this kind of activity is where you want to be the name that gets thrown out. And so connecting with your service providers and vendors that you've been exposed to over your career is huge. And so if you go through your resume, the way to think of these people is literally think about, when you look at your resume, you should have bullets that talk about what you accomplished. And if you isolate each bullet and think, who is the law firm, the accounting firm, the copier salesman, the insurance salesman, or whoever the types of people are that you interacted with. It could be software consultants, it could be a PR firm, it could be anybody that you paid a fee to or your company paid a fee to, and they have a network that is just huge and active all the time. So staying in touch with them, possibly give them leads, or just asking if who are they looking to meet? Maybe you can provide introductions, or just staying in front of them periodically, which, once a year, is just huge so that they think of you. And that is where the most active job referral activity takes place. Then the next place that it takes place is your direct reports, colleagues, and the people that were your superiors. They know you, they know your capabilities, they can make really knowledgeable referrals, they trust you, and they work with you and they want to help you. So people are always reticent to reach out to colleagues they haven't seen in 10 years or 15 years. Don't be like that. Connect with them. So I'm an animal. I don't let go of people in my network very well. And so I have a way, and I'll actually address it in a minute, but I'm going to touch on it here, a way of keeping in touch with just almost everybody in my network, maybe once a year. It could be posting something on LinkedIn, but with the companies that I've worked for, I've become the unofficial, what's the word I want? Okay, I need another cup of coffee. Alumni organizer. So I worked at Coopers and Lybrand for 8 years, and they do have a very formal alumni program, but it's always CPE classes and golf, and I don't need CPE and I don't play golf, so they never really helped me very much. But every year in April, I send out a flyer. It's an email. It's the same flyer for the last 25 years. I just changed the date. And it says, you're invited to the very unofficial Coopers and Lybrand pizza party at BJ's at, noon on XYZ date. And just, $20 a person. And they come and they throw their $20 in the pot. And there's pizzas galore and salads galore. And there anywhere from 20 to 50 people show up. You never know from year to year. It depends on people's schedules and stuff and the weather. And people every single year connect on jobs, even when they're not looking. And why is that? Because their colleagues know what they're cut of. They know what their skills are. They know what they're capable of. They know what their industry specialties are. And they may hear of something, and this happened, and they call somebody and say, hey, I just heard of an opportunity that you might be interested in. And so I said, I'm not looking. He says, I know you're not looking, but you need to look at this. This is something you should look at. And sure enough, he was right, because this person knew him and made a referral to him that really catapulted his career to the next level. So those colleagues, direct reports, and superiors are very, very supportive. And I say direct reports, a lot of people think, junior people. Well, 20 years ago, they were junior, but now they're older. We always forget these people age, just like we do. And people that were your direct reports years and years ago now have huge networks of their own. They're successful, and they hopefully have, warm thoughts and memories about you. And there was one case where there was a CIO in this country that was one of the top CIOs, and he had taken this to heart, and he put together everybody meet for a beer at BJ's or somewhere on Thursday at 4:30, and it was mostly people that had been on his teams 20 years before. 20 years, okay? And of course, all the people that were young are now a little older, and about 15 or 20 people showed up, and they all networked, and one of them said to him, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to be in LA tomorrow and see Bob." And the CIO said, "Well, tell Bob hi." Next day at lunch, she says, "I was, the CIO had this get together, and I told him I was going to see you, and he said to tell you hi." "Oh, what's he doing now?" "Well, he's in transition, and I'd like his contact information." They met, and they had several lunches, and wound up being hired by Bob in LA, and has been in this role now for about 9 years, and it's one of the top CIO roles in the nation. So that's because of this very junior person that he hadn't seen in 20 years, and that was having this coincidentally, also in touch with colleagues and people they had in common. So I can tell you hundreds of stories like this. I can't make them up. So, and then people that you have common bonds with, company alumni, college alumni, your religious organization, trade organizations are great places to network or stay in touch with people that you knew. Civic groups, the things you do for fun, bike riding, golfing, walking, gardening, whatever it is. And then staying connected with the parents of your children's parents. You don't think about that, but you go to these, I always laugh, I go by all these soccer games, these fields, and people are sitting here and over here. No one's sitting together, and I think they sit in the same spaces every week, and they never talk to the people that are sitting all around them, whose kids are also out on the field. And so I always tell you, move a little bit closer. And if their son Johnny makes a home run, go over and give them a high five, connect with them, and get to know the parents of your children's friends. So those are some really things that you just don't think about. And it's just a matter of connecting and getting to know them. So if you write these names down, if you really go through this and start thinking about it, and I have a matrix, which I can share with you. I don't have it on this because it takes a while to actually go through, but happy to share it, and it'll help you laser focus on connecting with these kind of people. So then, besides going through laser focusing on your resume and your background and all the people the fact is you should talk to anybody and everybody. So a friend of mine was a CFO of a large company, and she knits. And she was in the knit shop in Corona del Mar, and there was another woman in there, and they started talking. Turns out the other woman was newly relocated to Orange County. She was a trailing spouse. Her husband was moved here to take over a role. And she had been the general counsel of a company back east. She didn't want to take the California bar, so she was looking for maybe consulting work. And my knit shop, my CFO friend said, "I'll introduce you to some people." I received an introduction to her via email, and we had just launched our legal services practice, and she wound up becoming our first consultant in our legal team. And then she wound up several years later coming in-house and then became our general counsel. And that's all because she talked to somebody in a knit shop. Lots of stories around these, but it's again, I can't make these stories up. And just don't prejudge people. You have no idea who their next door neighbors are, their spouses, their parents, their kids. People all have contacts. So these should give you more ideas of people to reach out to. And then how to reconnect with them. Well, the fact is, if you do a little bit of homework, either Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, look at their resume, like on LinkedIn, and what are their interests? Where did they go to school? Where else have they worked? you'll find something. It's almost impossible not to find something that is of interest to you or some kind of a connection that you in that reaching out to them can use as leverage to have an interest to share. One of the things during COVID that I've been doing is going through boxes and boxes of pictures and memorabilia. And I've come across pictures of, Christy and I 20 years ago in a staff meeting, or people that I went to a play with or out to dinner with, or people I was walking around Balboa Island with during Christmas. I mean, these are 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I ran across pictures from my elementary school, and somebody that I went to elementary school with in Denver now lives blocks from me here. We walked to school together for 6 years, and we didn't know we were living in the same community until I looked her up. So what I've been doing is taking pictures of these pictures and immediately just sending it to the person. And all I say is, look what I just ran across. And you get all kinds of crazy responses like, oh my God, and people get excited at these silly memories that I've shared. And it's a very warm connection with people, and they love being thought of. And I think makes them feel good that someone's got a picture of them somewhere, or a note that they sent. Sometimes it's a note that people send and take a picture of that, or a Christmas card with their family picture from 20 years ago. Take a picture of that and send it to them. These all warm up those reach outs to people. And it isn't just you calling out of the blue, but you've found some reason to reach out to them. You could even Google them and see something they've been involved with and take a copy of that or a picture of that and say, I just saw this and what a wonderful accomplishment, or how interesting. I'd love to hear more about it. So you can find a million ways to ease into a conversation with somebody you haven't talked to in a while. The other thing you can do if you see things that they're interested in is, send them one of your favorite TED Talks. I love sharing those. Sometimes I post them on LinkedIn saying, this is a TED Talk that I found really helpful. I'm sharing it with people in my LinkedIn. And by doing that, your name pops up in front of everybody in your LinkedIn. Again, just reminds them that you're out there. And that just takes you a moment. So, get your list of your favorite TED Talks, and periodically, maybe once a month, send it out to somebody or to people. If any of the people that you come across in these lists that you're going to create made a difference in your life, whether they gave you promotion, whether they referred you to a job, whether they helped you with a family member in need of help, maybe you drove somebody to the doctor's office, maybe you went grocery shopping for them during COVID, or they did for you, whatever it was that they did for you, you can send them contact saying, I just wanted to thank you. Thank yous go such a long way, showing gratitude to people for whatever they did for you, even if it was just a quick note that they sent or guidance they gave you in your job. And back at Cubas and Live, one of my first days in the job there, the accounting world was foreign to me, and I was required to go to a seminar, and the whole seminar was in acronyms. And those of you in that world know it's FASB's, SEC, IPO, and it was all new to me. And I was sitting in the back of the room and I started laughing, and I had to leave the room because I was being a distraction, and I couldn't stop laughing because I was like, I may as well have been in China. And one of the partners came out and said, what's going on? I said, I have no idea what they're talking about. It's all words or acronyms that I've never heard of before. So later that day, he came in my office and shut the door, and I thought, oh, I'm in trouble. He erased my whiteboard and he listed all these words, and he sat down in the kindest way. I thought he was going to be condescending. He didn't. He said, you're right. We need to educate you. And he put up every acronym he could come up with at the time and went through them with me. And we left them up for months until I became more familiar with them. But just the other day, I reached out to him. I said, I never have forgotten that moment 40 years ago, 35 years ago, that you took the time to educate me and didn't make me feel stupid. And I just have never forgotten both the act and the attitude with which you did that. You've got to have those kind of experiences yourself. And I encourage you to go back into your memory bank and reach out to the people that did whatever it was that helped you through a moment. And these are all ways of reconnecting, but what you want to do is avoid actually asking for a job. And it's funny because that seems counterintuitive, but you need to wait till an organic opportunity happens. So if you've done your homework, if you've done some homework on them, you know what their interests are, you have a reason to reach out to them, or you've created a reason to reach out to them and have conversation with them. It could be on the phone, Zoom, coffee, going for a walk, whatever it is. Constantly get the conversation about them. At some point, if they're on this planet, they're going to say, well, tell me what's going on with you. They're going to provide you an opportunity to catch them up on your life. And don't make that the first thing that comes out. I'm looking for a job. You know, you can say, well, the kids are away in college, or the kids are in 10th grade and 9th grade, and they're a handful, and Joe's in Boy Scouts, and, you know, Jill is in something else. And talk about the family, and talk about, you know, if you've got a sport that you're involved in, or a hobby you're involved with, a mutual friend, I think Christy was there. Trev, did you know Trev? He's a scuba diver. He leads every conversation with, do you scuba dive? I mean, his whole intent is to find scuba diving buddies and to share, you know, scuba diving stuff with. And that's his first contact with everybody. He doesn't care what your name is or whatever, do you scuba dive? And so that's his, you know, his entree, and it's served him well. So just find something that you can use on a repeated basis, or pull up a memory from a specific person. And in the conversation, they will always, or they should, be able to say, you know, what's going up with you. That's what I call an organic opportunity to catch them up on what's going on with you. And then you slide it in, not the first thing, but after you talk a little bit about what's going on in your life, or what fun things you've done, or trip you've taken, where you've moved to, whatever. And you can say, you know, I'm at, you know, in between opportunities right now, I'm actually looking for something, and you know, that's the time. And they'll ask you more questions, you know, and you'll have a chance to share with them, and then you'll have a chance to send your resume to them. But if you just call them and say, I'm looking at the market and I wanted to see if you, you know, move any opportunities with someone, you know, their eyeballs will roll back in their head, and it's just hard. You put them on the spot. So you need to warm up your contacts and warm up the people that know you and love you. And then the opportunity will be there for you to share with, and it'll be so much more pleasant for you in that reconnecting and warming up your contacts. And hopefully on the person on the receiving end of that connection will find it mutually helpful and kind. So I'm looking at the clock. Okay, I've got a couple more minutes. So these are ways I reach out to people, because you have to keep in touch with a lot of people. So you can obviously just reach out like we've talked to, but whatever you do for sports or activities, you know, just embrace more people doing it. I invite neighbors over for wine periodically. I have a lot of executive women that I organize spa days with, and those are really fun. Some people, I've heard that when they've done an IPO, they've kept that IPO team together for years with an annual pizza party. And it's like maybe the IPO was 20 years ago, but they're still getting together with the team that, you know, took them through it at both the company and the different service providers. Maybe you go to sporting events with a bunch of people, whatever it is, do it on an annual basis. So I call it compartmentalizing and annualizing. So my Coopers and I brand pizza party is every year, same flyer. I change the date. I have now our GP alumni party. So we, you know, same thing. We do a pizza party, and it's going to be the same date. I was a tour guide at Disneyland. We get together every year for Christmas luncheon, a bunch of us. And that, again, same invitation, change the date. And so I've compartmentalized and annualized just about every group of people in my life. And it enables me to stay in touch. And I don't see them all every year. They don't all show up for the event, but I've touched them. They've seen my name pop up. They've gotten an email from me or text, and that will remind them that I am alive and here. And if you just compartmentalize the different categories in your life and reach out in a way that is organized and where they can even come to count on it, then you'll find people thinking of you a lot more. Also keeping, one of the things I want to, I've covered some of these, the photos from your books, and you know, you can always do copies and Zooms and everything. But this is one of my favorites, lulls. A lull is when you're held hostage somewhere. There's nothing else you can do. You're in a doctor's office, they're running late. You're getting your car washed, you're just sitting around outside waiting for it to get done. There's a million times, even standing in line at the grocery store, if it's a long line, you know, you've got a few minutes. And I love to just pick up my phone, go to my contacts, and I pick an arbitrary letter, maybe an S, and I go scrolling through my S's. Who have I not talked to in a while? And I will lob a couple of texts that just say, I'm just thinking of you. How are you doing? I call those lull texts. And I love to have people do them, and I'm going to have you do them in a minute, but I want to look and see if there's anything else on here. But the main thing is you don't need to say anything other than I was just thinking of you. How are you doing? And you can send 10 of those a day while you're having coffee or while you're sitting, getting your car washed, 10 times a day, 365 days. That takes 2 minutes to do. And you've reached out to people, and I promise you, you'll hear back from them. So when we get done here, we're going to actually do that. And let's see. So after you've thought of a lot of people, obviously, you can download all of your LinkedIn contacts into Excel, which I encourage you to do. It's easier to not manage taking notes and putting notes down next to their names so you remember what you've done. You can add the people's names that we talked about on that networking circle back at the beginning. Everybody you meet now, make sure you invite them into your LinkedIn. Start reconnecting with these people in your LinkedIn, just the way we talked about it. You've got a list right there of people you already know, or at least kind of know. And I would commit several weeks just to getting this set up and processed, and then getting it automated so that you don't have to think about it. And this will serve you well, literally for the rest of your career. I teach this to college students, and the results are phenomenal because they just do it. They don't know to challenge me about any of this. Like, oh, that can't possibly work. They do it, and it works. And these kids get jobs faster than anybody else. And then these are just books that I think are really helpful in terms of networking. A friend of a friend of a friend is a great one. Never Eat Alone is a great one. The Go Giver. All of these are excellent books that I encourage you to read. And then they're great books to give to people. You know, I love giving them to, you know, college graduates or people that are in transition. It's just a gift, and they should be really helpful. So that is that. And I know I talked really fast and you probably have questions, but I do want to do this one exercise real quick. It'll take 1 minute. I want you all to pick up your phone. I'm going to pick the letter today. I'm going to say M, and go to your M's in your contacts and find somebody's name you haven't talked to in a while. I don't care if it's 6 months or 6 years, but if you've got their phone number or email, I want you to send the note what I just said. I was just thinking of you. How are you doing? And if you haven't seen them in a really long time, you can even say, how the heck are you doing? And then hit send. And then you can just put your phone down. I'm going to bet a coffee at Starbucks that several of you will hear back before we get off this call. And if not, I know that you'll hear back from them before the end of the day, or you'll hear back from them in a couple of days. I get emails every day from people saying, I just heard from my M. It's so much fun. So that's my hacks for getting, you know, livening up your network. And if you have any questions, I'm ready.
All right. I don't see any questions in the text, but Sarah mentioned HubSpot as a free tool to download your contacts into, and which is great. Who has a question? This is your chance. Okay.
I threw a lot of stuff out. I'm really fast.
I know. No, that's okay. Russ.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Terry. A question that I was handling, and I've asked it around. There seems sort of a consensus, a little bit of a consensus, so not totally, of course, that with the fluidity of needs for positions that are changing all the time, that maybe the 75% guideline of fitting, a fit, so to speak, may also be, for lack of other words, fluid. A guideline.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay. So let's say you're looking at a job description, an ad, or anything like that, and seems a general guideline out of there is if one meets 75 plus of the requirements, the needs, that sort of thing, go ahead and apply. Otherwise, it's not a good use of each other's time. However, that can flip on the blink of an eye.
That's true. You have no control over that. I mean, if you see something that looks like it might be good, I would say apply. But the main thing I would say is if you know the name of the company, go to your LinkedIn and see if you know somebody there. Hopefully, you will find somebody you know at any company you apply to that can help your resume get eyeballs on it. Because most of these companies use applicant tracking systems and they never see the hard copy. They just see the names that pop up that match their. But I mean, Christy, do you have comments on that?
Well, what I would say is between your contacts and the contacts through boot camp, there's likely a connection somewhere, and to have a conversation. And to Terry's point, that you don't want to ask for a job, you want to ask for the connection, and reach out and just mention that you're interested, and what do they know, and that will lead to a lot of things that, could be really beneficial. Angela had a question.
Okay.
I did. Terry, thank you so much. And Christy, great to see you. I guess one of the things I'm thinking about is trying to come up with a list of new things to do as you're reaching out. The articles, things of that nature, especially when you're looking to build a new community. Your previous contacts have really kind of either aged out or decided to go and do something more entrepreneurial. And I know a little bit of this is a mindset thing, but I'm just you have some great ideas that I have not done. But my question was, it was really around like mindset, to shift from the fact that you lost community, you're looking for community that's inside these companies, right? Because they really are the ones that have the opportunities, and when companies are hiring based on those recommendations, what are your thoughts around that?
So one of the things I suggest is, are you involved in any not-for-profit activities?
I am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just step up your involvement in your not-for-profit activity and get on maybe another committee and expand your contact base, because every not-for-profit has such a diverse group of people involved, from every imaginable walk of life and business and industry. And if you've already, quote, milked yours, find another one that you can get involved with. Or if are you in Orange County?
I'm not in Orange County, but you know what? I believe in the internet. So
well, every community has a list, whether it's online or at their, some organization that lists all the nonprofits in the community. And a lot of them post when they need volunteers for a day, a week, a month, a year, a board member. And if there's opportunities to volunteer at a run, to set up cones, or be at a check-in table at some other event, anytime you can volunteer and be involved somewhere, you're getting out of your head, you're adding dimension to your personality and people that might be interested in you, and you're meeting new people. And every single day provides an opportunity for you to meet somebody that might expand your network. Now, to the ageism thing, I am 76, extremely rapidly approaching 77. I can't tell you how many people have passed away in my network or retired. You know what? I have met so many new people in the last couple of years, just with the new things I've gotten involved with. It's like, and they're all young and they're all dynamic and exciting and fabulously interesting. So just plug into something else to liven you up and your energy up and provide you with a whole new group of people to meet. I cannot even emphasize that enough. And you can plug in pretty quickly. If you get on committees, you can get on more than one committee. So
Terry, you're absolutely right. It's the nonprofit is a great way to liven up your network. Russ, another question?
Yes. So it's led me to another question after answering this. Is asking for somebody to contact you, go say reconnected, you've talked a while, for what things their organization may need in the future, the same as asking for a job?
I think if you're having a natural conversation with someone, like maybe if you're meeting for somebody for coffee or lunch, say, what's going on in your organization? How are you guys doing? Come from it from an angle of actually being interested in them and their job, as opposed to you looking for something. And you have to be authentic about that. But if they work for a company that's kind of interesting, say, what's going on? How are you guys growing the business? And let them start talking about what's going on in their world. How are they dealing with it? Is it impacting them? And then it'll lead to a natural conversation. But make it about them and their world and their environment, and have them sharing with you what's going on without it being you looking like you're probing for something as much.
And Terry, that's a really good point. There was one thing, one of the many things that stood out for me that I learned from you. You had a saying, be interested first and be interesting. So find a way to have it be a mutually beneficial dialogue, so that it's not all about you wanting something from them, but being interested in them, truly, authentically, genuinely interested in them. And then be interesting, provide something that's interesting. And I have found that just really goes a long way, as long as it comes from your heart. You can't manufacture that. So any final words, Terry?
No, yes, this, as Cindy had said it earlier, it's Thanksgiving and the holidays in general. And I love reaching out to my contacts and just saying, I am so grateful for the role you've played in my life. And I want to thank you and wish you and your family happy holidays. So you can take that forward and run with it. But I wish that for you all as well. And Christy, thank you to you. I appreciate you and our relationship all these years so much. And even Cindy, it was good to see her face on here too. And Cheryl, thanks for your help with all of this.
So, and Terry, we'll send your contact information out. You're still working with people from a coaching standpoint.
Yes,
right?
I am.
Okay,
so coaching people in transition and people that want to get on corporate boards. Those are the two areas.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we send out your contact information and the slides if you want to share those. And then we'll send you a link to the recording so you can share that as well. Everyone, we're out of time. Thank you. Enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday. Please reach out to us if we can be of assistance to you. And we'll see you in a couple weeks when we have another great speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
bye, everybody.
Great to see you, Terry.
Thanks, Bill. Nice to see you too.
Terry, it was fantastic.
Thanks for the coffee cup. I got one.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. It's a nice cup. Actually, I like the colors.
Yeah, I know, right?